What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club, where everyone has a voice, and welcome to the Social Club football event. 31 days, 31 videos. All August long, we're bringing you daily football content, from the NFL to college football and everything in between. Expect videos on Heisman frontrunners, NFL MVPs, bold predictions, hot takes, and more as we gear up for the new season. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a day of football content. We're building more than just content. We're building a community. So make sure to comment your thoughts below every video and let your voice be heard. Other than that, go ahead and pull up a chair, grab a plate, and let's talk football.
Alright, it's no secret. The LSU Tigers left a rather disappointing impression on the 2024 season. Aside a 5-3 record of the SEC, a steamrolling Texas Bowl win at the end of the season, and a 9-4 record to finish it all off, a season-opening loss to USC seemed within reason until we had a 3-week losing streak to Texas A&M, Bama, and then to kill it all off, Florida, and which proved to be both catastrophic to watch and ultimately kill off any chances of a playoff appearance happening. Now, with week 0 finally coming to a close, I found this to be the perfect time to dive into the 2025 LSU Tigers regular season schedule and go through each matchup as to why I believe that we'll be making a playoff appearance this season. You might just be surprised at who we knock off to make it all happen. Now, to start it off, before I get into the predictions here, guys, I want to give my baseline, essentially the factors I'm considering as I break down each of these matchups and why I think that they're going to be coming out the way that they do. Starting off with the returning key talent we're going to be having, we've got a lot of guys on offense, a lot of guys on defense that were key pieces to our success last season. Well, the success that we did see last season, and which I think will be playing an even bigger role in how this season is going to pan out. That starts with quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, running back Caden Durham, wide receiver Aaron Anderson. Plus, we've got defensive standouts like Whit Weeks, who's an absolute monster in the middle, and we can't forget about Harold Perkins, my guy that's calling the shots on defense. With such big names in each of these elements of this offense, of this defense returning, I expect these guys to be delivering nothing but continuous elite level performance week in, week out. They're going to be the reasons why we get it done this year. Also, let's talk about the transfer portal impact we've had. I mean, we've added some significant reinforcements in the offseason, starting with wide receiver Barry Brown, defensive end Patrick Payton, cornerback Mansour Delane, and those are just a few names that come to mind off the rip. I think that with these guys stepping into these positions, we're going to be answering for a depth issue in a lot of different spots on the offense and defense. And although these guys are mad talented at what each of them bring to the table, there is going to be, a bit of a learning curve for them to get used to the LSU Tigers offense and their defense. So there will be some cohesion efforts that'll have to be really, really put into place first, but I'm hoping those guys spend a lot of time on that in the offseason already. What I'm also considering in this evaluation, the LSU Tigers face one of the most difficult slates in the country when it comes to the schedule. We've got road trips to Clemson coming up, Ole Miss coming up. We've got Bama on the road again. These are all places that are very difficult to play within, and truthfully in the past, if history repeats itself, we don't always shine in those moments. But with that said, I think we're going to be capitalizing on a lot of the home games we're going to have this year, a lot of those games that can go either way. I think that home turf down in Death Valley is going to definitely be helping us get over the hedge. Now, with all of that in mind, I think that what this comes down to is if the 2025 LSU Tigers don't make a playoff appearance, this could raise some significant, some very serious questions for Brian Kelly. Some even considering this might be a last chance for him down at LSU because, it's been some time now, and it's at the point now where the narrative is stating that we're not a playoff team, we're not a playoff organization anymore, we're not competitive enough. There's definitely a lot of things that are going to be pointing towards us needing to succeed this year, but let's get into the nitty-gritty as to why I think these guys have what it takes to make it happen. Getting down to the business here, research shows that we're going to be having a baseline of about 8 wins this season. If you look at all the different betting lines, if you look at the analysts and their predictions how this season is going to pan out, we're expecting 8+ wins. I think that's the absolute base of what should be expected. 8 wins is honestly a terrible season for LSU. So we should be reaching for higher. Now, if we add in the 30% playoff odds from ESPN's Football Power Index, That's where I pull out a 9-3 season. That is what my prediction is for the LSU Tigers this year. I think we have a couple of losses on the road that definitely hurt us, but I definitely see us leaning heavy on the non-conference wins and a few upsets. Well, not necessarily upsets, but a few of those 50-50 games that could go back and forth down in Death Valley. I think we do capitalize on those a lot stronger than what analysts are thinking. So let's get into it, starting out with week 1. August 30th, we kick off the college football season against Clemson, and we're on the road, we're playing them at home, and truthfully, if I'm being honest, I don't think this is going to be the spark and, what we need this season to be. I think that this may be a bit of a disappointing loss that we have. I don't think it'll be, a shutout by any means, but it'll definitely be a nail-biter. But I think that Clemson's always been a threat in the air, and we're going to have a lot of young talent that's in our secondary. I think with those new additions being the first game of the year, there's going to be some jitters to get out the way. There's going to be some errors that are made on defense that I think Clemson will find a chance to expose. Not to mention Garrett Nussmeier is going to be facing one of the most difficult defensive lines in the country. With it being a road opener, some chemistry, some concerns with chemistry on the defensive side of the ball. I think that Clemson's depth in the trenches and their organized offense is going to be something that puts us away. Again, I don't think this will be a shutout. I think this will be something that'll be down to the last wire. But if I were to predict a score, I'm going 27 Clemson, 24 LSU. We go 0-1 to kick off the season. Week 2, September 6th, we take on Louisiana Tech. And we can keep this short because we know what this is. This is a money game. It's a tune-up game. Second game of the year. I think that we're going to see the starters get some reps in the first quarter. But after that, we're going to see a lot of rotations on offense and defense, letting some other guys get let some fresh legs get some reps and get an idea of the college football experience. It's plain simple. It's very evident. There's a massive talent gap between these two groups. I think that what it comes down to, Louisiana Tech doesn't have the players, they don't have the speed, they don't have the grit to keep up with an SEC team like LSU. So this is going to be a bit of a shutout. Not even a bit. This is going to be an absolute annihilation. Week 3 versus Florida. We're taking them on at home right there in Death Valley. It is a night game, which is always in our favor as well too. And I think what the biggest thing here is that we've got a chip on our shoulder. Last year, Florida killed our playoff appearance hopes and dreams, and I think that this year we're coming back with a bit of a vengeance, some revenge to get on the field here. Key things that I think will stick out in this game. Florida has a pretty young secondary coming into the season. I think that we are going to be able to expose that quite a bit. I think our offensive line is going to be creating quite a few lanes for Caden Durham to get through. And truthfully, let's be honest, the Florida Gators under Billy Napier has always been pretty here and there, pretty wishy-washy. And with that said, I think that this will be something that puts a bit of a nail in the coffin, lets them know that we mean business this season. I'm giving a score prediction, LSU 31, Florida 24, and I think we hit the season in week 4, being 3-1. Week 4, Southeastern Louisiana. They have pretty cool colors. I think the green and the gold is pretty nice combo that they got going on down there. But guys, this is a money game. It's nothing more, nothing less. ESPN has us predicted at a 99% chance to win for LSU. So nothing really to get into here. It's pretty evident, cut and dry. Massive talent gap. It's going to be another game where we get some fresh legs on the field. I'd say, we might see some explosive plays early on from this offense, but after that, they're going to be letting the second and third string guys get some reps. Score prediction, it's going to be an absolute annihilation. LSU 56, Southeastern Louisiana maybe 7, probably 3. Week 5 at Ole Miss. September 27th, we'll be taking a trip out to Oxford, Mississippi to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. If I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think this is going to pan out too pretty for my Bayou Bengals. ESPN's got this one slated at a 42.3% chance for LSU to win. Truthfully, I think that's being a bit generous. Lane Kiffin's high-octane offense is going to prove very difficult to keep up with for this defense, both on the defensive line and in the secondary. I think that we're going to see some guys getting pretty exposed, especially in the passing game. Defensively, I just don't think that we'll have the cohesion that we need to keep up with this offense, with a high-paced offense that Lane Kiffin is known for, and us having a bit of chemistry, cohesion, not issues, but some growing pains to still get through. I think Ole Miss definitely exposes a bit of what we've got going on with the program. So, unfortunately, coming out of Week 5, I got us taking the L to the Rebels, puts the season record at 3-2. Week 6 versus South Carolina. Now, on October 4th, we're going to be taking on the Gamecocks. and this is going to be a good one. We pulled away from this one last year by a field goal margin. I think a lot of the formula that it took to win last year will play into a lot of how we win this year's matchup as well. Between Garrett Nussmeier's experience, Lenore Sellers being a sophomore, I do understand he won Freshman of the Year last year, which is an impeccable award. He did play lights out ball, but in this case, it's just going to be a difference in experience that is going to really show some errors on the Gamecocks' game plan strategy. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, we have a wide receiver core now boosted with Barry and Brown. That's going to give us some mismatch opportunity. And ultimately, if we can control the offensive output, manage the game clock really well, I think this will be another situation like last year where we just don't give them the time to really pull away from us. So I'm giving this one to LSU. If I were to give a score prediction, I'm going to say Tigers 28, Gamecocks 17. Week 7 at Vanderbilt. On October 11th, we take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. We're going to be going to their turf, but I have no concerns about that whatsoever. Now, I do think Diego Pavia is a dog. He's an absolute menace, and I love that he's the head of that offense that's putting things together over there. However, it's just too big of a talent gap. I mean, it's Vanderbilt. I mean, they proved to be pretty competitive last season, but they're still at the bottom of the talent pool in the SEC. Last year, LSU put up 471 yards of offense. 332 of those were through the air, and we had, I think, 27 total first downs against Vandy. I don't think this year is going to have much of a different script. So I think this will be another shutout. I think this will be another nail in the coffin. We pull away from this one with another win. Week 8 versus Texas A&M. Now the Aggies are going to be coming to Death Valley for this one on October 18th. And although they do play us very well, the Aggies always play us tough. They always give us a run for our money. But I do think that they just don't have the depth. And I ultimately think that they just don't have the weapons it'll take to actually knock us off. I think with us playing at home in Death Valley is definitely going to give us a bit of an edge. I do think that the Aggies have a defensive strategy that can kind of limit our offense quite a bit, but ultimately they don't have the passing weapons when it comes down to it. And LSU's returning core and the transfers we did pick up in the portal just give us that much more complexity to have on the edge. So I think this one will be another one we pull away with the win on. If I gave a score prediction, LSU 27, Aggies 24. It always usually seems to be within a score when we do win. We pull away from this one with a 6-2 record going into Week 9. Week 9 at Bama. Now on November 1st, we're going to be going all the way out to Tuscaloosa. And although I can't stand Bama's organization, I hate Roll Tide, I hate Crimson Tide, I hate everything about it. I can't sit here and tell you that this will be the year that, we pull off the upset. Bama's just got too much talent, they've got too much athleticism, they've got too much depth for us to keep up with. In years past, LSU could definitely give them a run for their money, but this season, it's not going to look too different from last year. Ultimately, with us being in Tuscaloosa, it's one of the toughest environments to play in football. Not to mention that we've lost 6 of the last 7 matchups against Bama. I think this will be the last loss that we do take of the season, putting us at a 6-3 record as we enter Week 10. So I think that this kind of follows the trend. We take this stinger and we move on with the rest of the season. Week 10 versus Arkansas. On November 8th, we've got the Razorbacks coming down to Death Valley, and although they usually do play us pretty tough, I know it's a big rivalry game. We hate everything Razorback down there. It's no secret they don't have the speed and they don't have the athleticism to keep up with this team. It's shown in recent years past, and I think that this will kind of follow the narrative a bit. Now, I do think the Hogs have a pretty strong run game. There's really no way around that. That's what they've leaned on in years past, and what I do think will be the key to that is the consistency we'll get out of Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks, killing the middle, ultimately taking away those lanes for them to have to pass the ball. And I do think the fresh legs we have in the secondary can expose some of the offensive weapons they've got lined up across the ball. So I think this one will be a good game, but I think we pull away late in the fourth. I'm going to give LSU 34, Razorback 17. We go into Week 11 with another win. Week 11 versus Western Kentucky. Now, Western Kentucky is going to be coming down to Death Valley for this one, and although that their air raid passing game can score, they just don't have SEC elite talent level players. Now, I do think our corners are going to get tested because we're going to have some fresh legs on the outside. They're definitely going to see what they can get out of that. But I think the trenches are the reason that we win this game. We've got too much speed. We got too much depth. We got too much athleticism for these guys to keep up with. Again, I know their passing game is known to be their main weapon, but let's also consider that last year, LSU's defense held non-SEC opponents to under 200 yards a game. I don't think this will be much different. We're going to be going into Week 12 with another win on the board. Week 12 at Oklahoma. So we're closing out the season, going to visit the Sooners, and I think that this will be a good game. I think this will be a statement game for Brian Kelly. I don't think this will be a steamroll. It won't be a blowout. It's going to be another one that comes down to who has the ball last. But I've seen in the past, Norman is tough to play in, but I do think that our offense at this point should be fully integrated. We should have all the kinks worked out, and I think we're firing on all cylinders at this point in the game. Oklahoma's going to be pretty explosive early on, but ultimately I think that they can be beatable in the trenches. What that means is I think we've got the power, I think we've got the speed, I think we've got the athleticism to outplay these guys for the last game. Ultimately, with this being a deciding factor, and if we're going to be getting into the playoff picture or not, definitely going to put some steam under the seat as well too. I'm giving this one to LSU to end the season 9-3 and a win over the Sooners at 27-24. But that puts us in the playoff picture. So there's the breakdown. LSU finishes strong, 9-3. We have some very tough on-the-road losses to Clemson, Ole Miss, and Bama. But we end the season on a high note with a huge win over Oklahoma on the road, and that puts us in the playoff picture conversation. Now the big question, does a 9-3 LSU team in 2025 put us in the playoffs? It's hard to tell. With so many moving factors, so many different guys that are going to be making plays every weekend, there's a lot of teams I think we're going to see get shifted around the top 25 this season. However, with all that considered, I think it at least puts us back in the elite conversation for those teams coming out of the SEC. Let me know what you guys think though. Am I being too optimistic? Should I be tempering expectations? Is there something I'm missing? Does this LSU Tigers team just not have the firepower anymore? Hit up the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about my Bayou Bengals making it to the playoffs in the 2025 season. But I also want to hear about your team. Is your team going to make it to the 12-team playoff picture? Go ahead and drop it down in the comment section below, because I want to see if it's anybody out there that we're going to be facing, so I know whose DMs to be blowing up come football Saturday. But aside that, guys, until next time.